I'm here to read out a
Huh?
poem composed by Chandrasekhar Bhai. He is the poet, I am only the singer, and Narad Bhai is the subject of the poem. Of all that was said about Narad, one of the most beautiful things which I must mention extremely briefly is that in the ashram courtyard where you have Mother and Sri Aurobindo's Samadhi, there is the service tree that was planted by Lord Sri Aurobindo himself by his own hands. And when the tree began to bend this way and that, the Divine Mother chose Narad to direct and take care of the tree so that it was properly kept and properly taken care of, because the tree contained the consciousness of Sri Aurobindo. That was, I think, the most beautiful task a person can be given. This is a poem by Chandrasekhar Bhai. Narad at Bangalore. Welcome, Mr. Richard Eggenberger, to a rare group of Savitri lovers. Narad is the name given by the mother. It reminds us of the divine messenger, writer, voice teacher, and a photographer. Lord Sri Aurobindo's Savitri's great lover, bringer of new music as told by the mother, and creator of the famous Om choir. The voice that chants to the creator fire, the symboled Om, the great ascending word. Om is the signature of the Lord, said the mother. Your first meeting with mother lasted an hour. This is an endowment lecture as ever in memory of N.A. Nikam, the professor at the Indian Institute of World Culture. Thanks to Shakuntala Mane, the organizer. Thanks to you for the inspiring lecture. Visit the J.B. Nagar Center in the future. Kindly accept this rhyme as our offer. I, Chandrasekhar, child of the Divine Mother.
An unusual topic. Savitri and the new music. When I first came to the ashram in 1961, a young man gave me a copy of the longest poem in English called The Odyssey by Nikos Kazantzakis, 33,000 lines. But it is a translation from the Greek. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri is the longest poem written in the English language. From the time the first poem was written, it is nearly 24,000 lines. Lines of such majesty, supreme beauty, and more than anything else, mantric. So tonight, I speak to you about Savitri as regards the new music that I have been asked by the Divine Mother to bring to earth. I will read many passages from Savitri, but I want to tell you first a bit about this new music, especially as it is now going to many countries of the world in the form of the Om choir. The Om choir is only about 7 years old. when the name came to me direct, that it should be a collective body to bring down the new music. This collective body, one soul like a harp with many strings. And when I was in Oroville, I went to see Nolini, who was Sri Aurobindo's greatest disciple, on my birthday. It was around 1979. And he spoke to me, he answered my questions about Oroville, and then he became very quiet. And he pointed to my wife, and he said, "Your body." And then he pointed to me, and he said, "And your body." And then he pointed to himself, and he said, "And my body." We think they are different bodies. They are not. They are all her body. Mother. She has put a part of herself into each of us. So Savitri, the legend which Sri Aurobindo has made a symbol, is for me the greatest work ever written. It is poetry of such sublime beauty, of a power that has never been on earth before, and a promise of a world that will become divine. In a few places in Savitri, he speaks of the two who are one, and he says that they will change this earthly life to life divine. So what about this music? Well, Savitri is all music. Savitri is the most beautiful music. And I have extracted from the various books and cantos many quotes on music alone to share with you this evening. And also to inculcate in your consciousness the vibrations of this mantra. So I begin. From Book 1, Canto 3, The Yoga of the Soul's Release. Oft inspiration with her lightning feet, a sudden messenger from the all-seeing tops, traversed the soundless corridors of his mind, bringing her rhythmic sense of hidden things. A music spoke, transcending mortal speech, as if from a golden phial of the all-bliss, a joy of light, a joy of sudden sight, a rapture of the thrilled, undying word poured into his heart as into an empty cup. a repetition of God's first delight, creating in a young and virgin time. Now we find in this book one, the book of beginnings, the yoga of the spirit's freedom and greatness, the following lines. The inconscient found its heart of consciousness. The idea and feeling, groping in ignorance, at last clutched passionately the body of truth. The music born in matter's silences, plucked nude out of the ineffable's fathomlessness, the meaning it had held but could not voice. The perfect rhythm, now only sometimes dreamed, an answer brought to the torn earth's hungry need, rending the night that had concealed the unknown, giving to her her lost, forgotten soul. The music born in matter's silences. When I first met Mother, in that life-changing experience of being alone with her in a room, no secretary, no attendant was there in those days, only the mother with oneself. After she gave me my initiation, of which I truly cannot speak, she then turned to me and said, in her powerful voice, "You must bring down a new music." I had just turned 23, studying many languages, singing in German, Russian, French, Italian, English. And I said, "Mother, I don't know about combining words and music." Mother replied, "No, no. You must go far above words and bring down the pure music." And that, for the past 50 years, has been one of my main works. In the beginning, we had small groups of people, and we stood in a circle because Mother said we should always be in a circle. And when we have 100 people, we have to have many circles, but concentric circles. And here's how it begins. If we truly believe that we are all one body, one consciousness, then where is separation? Is not that same divine spark in me, in the auto rickshaw driver, in the poorest of the poor and the richest of the rich? So in the early choirs, a voice would begin, another voice would come in, and then all the voices would join. And tomorrow night, after my talk at the Bhavan, I have been asked to conduct an Om choir. So any of you who would like to experience a oneness that you have never experienced before, you're welcome to come. Music. They pressed Sri Aurobindo to tell them what was the highest of the art forms, but they couldn't catch him. Each one, he said, had its own greatness. But, as you know, he considered poetry and music to be amongst the highest. And so tonight we have that poetry, tomorrow we have the music of the Om Choir. But let me go a little deeper into Savitri and read some more from the book of the Traveler of the Worlds. Don't try to grapple mentally with the meaning of Savitri. Let it go directly into your soul. Because mantra must be read out loud. And it goes direct. It goes even into the cells of the body. In that lucent ambience, mystically clear, the eyes were doors to a celestial sense. Hearing was music, and the touch a charm. And the heart drew a deeper breath of power. Again, in the book of the Traveler of the Worlds, a chant hymeneal to the unseen divine, a flaming rhapsody of white desire, lured an immortal music into the heart and woke the slumbering ear of ecstasy. You see, when some of us hear these lines, there is such a joy. Almost the body vibrates with that joy. Aspiring for this world to change, for ourselves to change, for all lowness of nature, for all the ego wants of our being, our false needs, our insecurities, our fears, to fall away. And Savitri can lift us to those planes where only exists beauty and light and love. When life broke through the half-drowse in the plant that feels and suffers but cannot move or cry, in beast and in winged bird and thinking man, it made of the heart's rhythm its music's beat. It forced the unconscious tissues to awake and ask for happiness, and earn the pang, and thrill with pleasure, and laughter of brief delight, and quiver with pain, and crave for ecstasy. Now this is a bit longer and the most beautiful passage, but then so many are filled with the divine voice, the mantra of the Lord. A fateful hand has touched the cosmic chords, and the intrusion of a troubled strain covers the inner music's hidden key that guides unheard the surface cadences. Yet is it joy to live and to create, and joy to love and labor, though all fails, and joy to seek, though all we find deceives, and all on which we lean betrays our trust. Yet something in its depths was worth the pain. A passionate memory haunts with ecstasy's fire. Even grief has joy hidden beneath its roots. For nothing is truly vain that one has made. In our defeated hearts, God's strength survives, and victory's star still lights our desperate road. Our death is made a passage to new worlds. This, to life's music, gives its anthem swell. We move on in Book 2 to the kingdoms and godheads of the greater life. And Sri Aurobindo writes, alone, the God-given hymn escapes her art that came with her from her spiritual home, but stopped halfway and failed, a silent word awake in some deep pause of waiting worlds, a murmur suspended in eternity's hush. But no breath comes from the supernal peace. A sumptuous interlude occupies the ear, and the heart listens, and the soul consents. An evanescent music it repeats, wasting on transience time's eternity. A tremolo of the voices of the hours, oblivious screens the high intended theme, the self-embodying spirit came to play on the vast clavichord of nature force. And continuing Book 2, the paradise of the life gods. This is so powerful. Across the vibrant secrecies of space, a dim and happy music sweetly stole. Smitten by unseen hands, he heard heart close the harp's cry of the heavenly minstrels pass, and voices of unearthly melody chanted the glory of eternal love in the white-blue moonbeam air of paradise. So we see now in only 2 pages, and I have more than 9 pages, the music of Savitri. And this new music that is descending all over the world, not only in those who know about Sri Aurobindo, but in people who are open wherever they are. I recently corresponded with a Catholic priest who has been to the ashram and was allowed to go up to Sri Aurobindo's room and went into such a deep trance that they had to pull him out. Then he was staying at one of the guest houses, and Sri Aurobindo appears before him. He goes to the airport in Chennai, and again Sri Aurobindo is before him. Now the mother said that we can all see Sri Aurobindo if we are open to him, believe in his work of transformation of the earth, and he has come to me a number of times. Once when I was in the meditation room, was the first time I heard his voice. I prostrated myself before his photograph completely, and this is what he said. And it's good for the circulation too. Another time, he gave me my first poem of more than 1,500 poems that have come from him. Whether they are good or not, time will judge. But for me, who has not always been the best receiver, they have been an unparalleled grace. The first poem is only 4 lines. These are the currents of my life. Engulf them in thy sea. The tangled threads of daily strife reweave to image thee. In scenes forbidden to our palate sense, amid miraculous scents and wonder hues, he met the forms that divinize the sight, to music that can immortalize the mind and make the heart wide as infinity listened, and captured the inaudible cadences that awake the occult ear. Out of the ineffable hush it hears them come, trembling with the beauty of a wordless speech, and thoughts too great and deep to find a voice, thoughts whose desire new makes the universe. Just before I arrived, I was invited to a conference in Des Moines, Iowa. It was an extraordinary experience of a group of people, of spiritual leaders from all parts of the world. There were devotees of Ramakrishna, Thomas Martin. There were a number of Buddhists. There were Christians. And all of them had come to pray for peace in the world as a collective body from all nations, all walks of life. And we hear in Savitri that these prayers have such a power, as does the new music, to heal and transform earthly life. I don't speak about it very often, but people who come to the Om choir who cannot even sing, and they have been healed of paralysis of the arms, chronic pain in the knees, and more. They write of their experiences, and I have pages and pages and pages of experiences they've had. I think fortunately for me, I don't have any, because I have to be just a prayer. A prayer for the descent of this new music. A prayer for the effectuating word, which is Om, the greatest syllable in all the languages of the world since time began. Om. And the Om choir was given to me about 7 years ago, as I mentioned, that the music would descend into a collective body, and it would descend through the power of Om. And all we sing is Om. A stripped imperative of conceptual phrase, architectonic and inevitable, translated the unthinkable into thought. A silver-winged fire of naked subtle sense, an ear of mind withdrawn from the outwards rhymes, discovered the seed sounds of the eternal word. The rhythm and music heard that built the worlds, and seized in things the bodiless will to be. Now this is a description of Savitri. And there are many throughout Savitri. Many passages of the highest one can conceive and beyond. So this is one, because I wanted to share this with you. All mights and greatnesses shall join in her. Beauty shall walk celestial on the earth. Delight shall sleep in the cloud net of her hair, and in her body, as on his homing tree, immortal love shall beat his glorious wings. A music of griefless things shall weave her charm. The harps of the perfect shall attune her voice. The streams of heaven shall murmur in her laugh. Her lips shall be the honeycombs of God. Her limbs his golden jars of ecstasy. Her breasts the rapture flowers of paradise. She shall bear wisdom in her voiceless bosom. Strength shall be with her like a conqueror's sword, and from her eyes the eternal's bliss shall gaze. A seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour, a branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Nature shall overleap her mortal step. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. This is the promise of the descent of Savitri, the Divine Mother, into human form on this earth. This is from the book of the Divine Mother. As a flame disappears in endless light, immortally extinguished in its source, vanished the splendor and was stilled the word. An echo of delight that once was close, the harmony journeyed towards some distant hush. A music failing in the ear of trance, a cadence called by distant cadences, a voice that trembled into strains withdrawn. But now we have this passage of many, many lines where Sri Aurobindo describes the changing seasons. Obviously, it's India and not England, because we have the monsoon, we have the heat of summer, and we have spring. And I have a passage here, but I want to quote the first two lines of the beginning of this long, long passage. Then spring, an ardent lover, leaped through leaves and caught the earth bride in his eager clasp. His advent was a fire of irised hues. Now to this. This is the very end of that long passage. And again, it has music in it. It has so much in it. Okay, spring has come, and all the beauty of spring that we know. And the poet writes, the life of the enchanted globe became a storm of sweetness and of light and song, a revel of color and of ecstasy, a hymn of rays, a litany of cries, a strain of choral priestly music sang and swung on the swaying censer of the trees, a sacrifice of perfume filled the hours. Ashokas burned in crimson spots of flame, pure like the breath of an unstained desire. White jasmines haunted the enamored air. Pale mango blossoms fed the liquid voice of the love-maddened koil, and the brown bee muttered in fragrance mid the honey buds. The sunlight was a great god's golden smile. All nature was at beauty's festival. See, those of you who respond to this are responding with your inmost soul. And that is the sign of the divine grace touching you, infusing its light and beauty into your heart and into your being, down to the very cells. This is the beginning of, well, it's in the book of the Birth and Quest, showing Savitri as a young person. And it's the growth of the flame. There was a great tantric yogi, Kapali Shastri, and he would watch Mother walk, and he would see her as a flame of white light. And so this here is a section from the growth of the flame. The architecture of the infinite. Discovered here its inward musing shapes, captured into wide breadths of soaring stone. Music brought down celestial yearnings. Song held the merged heart absorbed in rapturous depths, linking the human with the cosmic cry. The world interpreting movements of the dance, molded idea and mood to a rhythmic sway and posture. Crafts minute in subtle lines eternized a swift moment's memory, or showed in a carving sweep, a cup's design, the underlying patterns of the unseen. Poems in largeness cast like moving worlds, and meters surging with the ocean's voice, translated by grandeurs locked in nature's heart, but thrown now into a crowded glory of speech, the beauty and sublimity of her forms, the passion of her moments and her moods, lifting the human word nearer to the gods. When Satyavan and Savitri meet, he says to her, "Close is my father's creepered hermitage, screened by the tall ranks of these silent kings, sung to by voices of the hue-robed choirs, whose chants repeat, transcribed in music's notes, the passionate colored lettering of the boughs, and fill the hours with their melodious cry." Now, who has written about birds like this? And when Savitri says to Satyavan, "I am Savitri, Princess of Madra. Who art thou? What name musical on earth expresses thee to men?" And in the Book of Love, the destined meeting place, he writes, try to see this as a picture, as a painting. The white crane stood, a vivid, motionless streak. Peacock and parrot jeweled soil and tree. The dove's soft moan enriched the enamored air, and fire-winged wild drakes swam in silvery pools. Earth couched alone with her great lover, heaven, uncovered to her consort's azure eye. In a luxurious ecstasy of joy, she squandered the love music of her notes, wasting the passionate pattern of her blooms and festival riot of her scents and hues. A cry and leap and hurry was around, the stealthy footfalls of her chasing things, the shaggy emerald of her centaur mane, the gold and sapphire of her warmth and blaze. From the call to the quest. Her father, Ashwapati, speaks to her. O living inscription of the beauty of love, nestled in aureate virginity, what message of heavenly strength and bliss in thee is written with the Eternal's sun-white script? One shall discover, and greaten with it his life, to whom thou loosenest thy heart's jeweled strings. O rubies of silence, lips from which there stole low laughter, music of tranquility, star-lustrous eyes awake in sweet large night, and limbs like fine-linked poems made of gold, stanza'd to glimmering curves by artist gods. Depart, where love and destiny call your charm. Venture through the deep world to find thy mate. Satyavan speaks to Savitri of what he saw and did before she came. You see, he's living in a forest, in a hermitage, because he must care for his father who is blind. And so he's in this rather wild place. Mountains are in the background, huge trees in the foreground, animals filled with birds. So he says to Savitri, the neighing pride of rapid life that roams wind-maned through our pastures, on my seeing mood cast shapes of swiftness, trooping spotted deer against the vesper sky, became a song of evening to the silence of my soul. I caught for some eternal eye the sudden kingfisher flashing to a darkling pool, a slow swan silvering the azure lake, a shape of magic whiteness sailed through dream, leaves trembling with the passion of the wind, pranked butterflies, the conscious flowers of air, and wandering wings in blue infinity lived on the tablets of my inner sight. Mountains and trees stood there like thoughts from God. The brilliant longbills in their vivid dress, the peacock scattering on the breeze his moons, painted my memory like a frescoed wall. I carved my vision out of wood and stone. I caught the echoes of a word supreme and metered the rhythm beats of infinity and listened through music for the eternal voice. Now, when Narad tells the family, he has come from the heavenly realms to the palace of the king. Savitri has just come from her meeting with Satyavan. Mother and father are there, and Savitri, and Narad. And so there is something in his voice that causes concern to the father. But he sees a cloud, and the cloud passes. And he says, if this is all, then all is surely well. If there is more, then all can still be well. But the queen, her mother, catches more. And she wants to know. But he says, what good is prevision to the doomed? But this is just a little passage from Narad. He spoke, but held his knowledge back from words. As a cloud plays with lightning's vivid laugh, but still holds back the thunder in its heart. Only he let bright images escape. His speech, like glimmering music, veiled his thoughts. As a wind flatters the bright summer air, pitiful to mortals, only to them it spoke of living beauty and of present bliss. He hid in his all-knowing mind the rest. But this music, this transcendent music that is coming out of the Om choirs. In fact, I had no thought of doing an Om choir here when Shaku invited me, because my next talk is on the spiritual significance of flowers. But Amitav called me the day before I left, and he said, I got your DVD from Savitri Bhavan, and we are having Om choirs every week. When you come, would you give us an Om choir? And of course, I'm unable to refuse a request like that. So, the Queen Mother speaks to Narad. She doesn't want her daughter to become a widow in 1 year, which it is written. 1 year from now, Satyavan will be dead. And what was that for an Indian woman in those days, even today, for many? Mother asks her to choose someone else. And she says, in these powerful words, from the mind but driven through the heart's agony. Who is the lover and who is the friend? All passes here, nothing remains the same. None is for any on this transient globe. He whom thou lovest now, a stranger came, and into a far strangeness shall depart. His moment's part once done upon life's stage, which for a time was given him from within, to other scenes he moves, and other players, and laughs and weeps mid faces new, unknown. The body thou hast loved is cast away, amidst the brute unchanging stuff of worlds, to indifferent mighty nature, and becomes crude matter for the joy of others' lives. But for our souls, upon the wheel of God, forever turning, they arrive and go, married and sundered in the magic round of the great dancer of the boundless dance. Our emotions are but high and dying notes of his wild music, changed compellingly by the passionate movements of a seeking heart in the inconstant links of hour with hour. To call down heaven's distant answering song, to cry to an unseized bliss is all we dare. Once seized, we lose the heavenly music's sense. Too near, the rhythmic cry has fled or failed. All sweetnesses are baffling symbols here. Her heart is torn. Her only child is about to marry a man who will die in 1 year. And her words are powerful. I mean, this is no ordinary person. This is the Queen Mother. And of course, at one point, Narad says to her, "Was then the sun a dream because there is night?" Well, I have more, but I may have filled you. So I think we'll end here. And I'm grateful to be amongst you. I answered this call from Shakyamuni because I felt the deep aspiration in her heart to honor her father again and again